Harshini Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Dandavat Pranam Mataji.
Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji.
I saw your message regarding link. Somehow I was very busy today. Um, Regarding link, I will ask Mahipal Prabhu to send the link to me also and in the group also. Regarding direction, eastern or northeastern?
That should be the deity's direction.
It's like we should face towards east and the Lord should face towards west.
West. Okay.
Eastern or northeast.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Which
Thank
link
you.
you're talking about?
Create the link for
Prabhuji, we missed something you're telling. Maybe you want to repeat, Prabhuji, once?
that was mainly for Harshini Mataji. I thought she's the only one there. I didn't realize you all
Oh,
had. Okay. Um, Mahipal Prabhu, the link for create a link for Saturday 7 o'clock.
In the that's already there, bro.
Oh, can you send it to me also and Harshini Mataji also?
Yeah, okay. I'll send. It's there in the group description also. I'll send tomorrow as a reminder as well.
Okay. Thank you.
But you will join as a host, right? You need the link.
I will join at the host. Yes. Yeah. So I don't need the link. Yes, Prabhu. Okay.
Okay.
Maybe we can begin. Somehow I was thinking that. And ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वापदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवंश श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितं च हे कृष्णकरुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्य ईश्वरम्। Okay, today is um, a very auspicious day because it is the divine disappearance day of Srila Jiva Goswami. There, there are six Goswamis. I'm sitting outside. You may have some background sound, but if I'm not audible, please let me know. There are six Goswamis. Among them, the youngest was Jiva Goswami. When she now, the flow of today's discussion will be first 20-25 minutes Jiva Goswami, and then uh, um, mainly Mahaprabhu taking sannyas. These are the two discussions of today. With Mahaprabhu taking sannyas, we will come to the end of the Adi Leela. So, when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to Ramkeli, when he attempted to make a tour to Vrindavan, he met Rup and Sanatan there, and that was the only time Jiva Goswami was a child, because Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami brother was Anupam. So Anupam's son was Jiva Goswami. He was still staying with his mother after Rup Sanatan Anupam left. Anupam passed away very early. Rup Sanatan came to Vrindavan, and Jiva Goswami continued his studies because his father Anupam and his uncles Rup and Sanatan set very good example, and because of his own being an eternal associate of the Lord, he had this burning desire to serve Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But he somehow, being in that situation, he was yet a small child under the care of the mother. So he spent some time. As soon as he became a teenager, he grew up little bit. He left to meet Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Navadvip. There he came to know that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has already left the planet. So he was Nitai. Nityananda Prabhu was still there. So he was greeted by Nitai. He also met many other associates of the Lord who was still there. And then Nitai gave a tour to Jiva Goswami all over Navadvip, where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu performed his pastimes. What pastimes he performed where, everything. And those interactions between Nityananda Prabhu and Jiva Goswami on the glories and the pastimes of Navadvip are scripted by Bhaktivinoda Thakur in a book called Navadvip Mahatmya. And then Nityananda Prabhu instructed Jiva Goswami to go to Varanasi and study, because there was a certain plan by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu for Jiva Goswami. So first Jiva Goswami studied under one of the disciple of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. We know Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, pure devotee, although previously he was an impersonalist. So one of the disciple of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was Madhusudan Saraswati, and he was a erudite scholar himself, and he had a school in Varanasi. So Jiva Goswami studied under him all the Vedas, Puranas, and vast literature, not only Bhakti literature, in fact, more of other literatures than Bhakti literature. And that gave Jiva Goswami a very strong footing later on to establish Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy, because it is very difficult to establish the philosophy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu without repeating so many Shankarites and many other philosophies and Mimamsa, Karma Mimamsa and Nyaya, and there are many schools of literature. So Jiva Goswami studied all those. It was instruction of Nityananda Prabhu, because only after he studied, he could compare, understand, see, and then establish Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy. Our main Siddhanta was actually established through the books of Jiva Goswami, through his books, Chat Sandarbhas, and many books that Jiva Goswami wrote. And then later on, Jiva Goswami moved to Vrindavan, and he studied under Rupa and Sanatan the Bhakti literatures. And that was a plain flow of his life. Now we will read something about Jiva Goswami. After leaving Navadvip, Sri Jiva followed the instructions of Lord Nityananda and traveled to Varanasi, where he studied under Madhusudan Saraswati, a disciple of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. His studies completed, Jiva Goswami joined his uncles Rup and Sanatan, who tutored Jiva in Srimad Bhagavatam, as well as other Vaishnava scriptures, being written by Goswamis at that time. Okay, something we discussed already. Between his arrival in Vrindavan in 1535 and Rupa Goswami's disappearance in 1564, Jiva Goswami worshipped Radha Damodar, edited Rupa Goswami's books, and wrote books of his own. So Jiva Goswami, when he went to Vrindavan, still very young, it's like um, um, Rupa Goswami was like an uncle, but later on he also took initiation from Rupa Goswami. He stayed in personal association with Rupa Goswami for almost 30 years. Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, and Raghunath Das Goswami decided that they don't want to initiate anyone. So None of them had disciples as such, but anybody who was requesting initiation, the senior Goswamis directed them to Gopal Bhatta Goswami and Raghunath Bhatta Goswami. Raghunath Bhatta Goswami and Gopal Bhatta Goswami their mood was, they would give Bhagavatam classes for hours every day and they accepted disciples. But Rup and Sanatan and Raghunath Das Goswami, they would mainly engage in writing books. Mainly engage in writing books. So Jiva Goswami, he himself being a writer, and we will see more about it. For 30 years, he served under Rupa Goswami. He would arrange for leaves and those kind of pens which can write on the leaves and make all arrangements so Rupa Goswami can write. And then he will help edit his books and he would humbly and meanly serve under Rupa Goswami. And he worshipped Radha Damodar deity. Radha Damodar deity were personally carved by Rupa Goswami. And there is a lot of Bhakti Ratnakar describes um, Radha Damodar deity being very active with Jiva Goswami. They would accept, they would talk just like Madan Mohan deity or Sanatana Goswami. So these deities were very active. Um, Jiva Goswami served them throughout his life, and then um, even our Srila Prabhupada, we will discuss something about Radha Damodar temple also. Our Srila Prabhupada also stayed in Radha Damodar temple. On a sad day of Rupa Goswami's disappearance, senior Vaishnavas like Raghunath Das and Gopal Bhatta Goswami selected Sri Jiva as the Acharya for all Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Him being the only disciple of Rupa Goswami. They didn't want to accept any disciple, but um, Rupa Goswami accepted Jiva Goswami. And Rupa Goswami was the leader of all over Vrindavan. Although when Rupa Goswami disappeared, Sanatana Goswami disappeared um, um, on Guru Purnima day, Sanatana Goswami, and he disappeared this planet um, at Manasi Ganga. And when Goswamis went there, he was sitting in a posture, but soon they realized that he has departed. Rupa Goswami could not take the departure of Sanatana Goswami because they were not only brothers but closest and dearest friends, and they were together the leader of Vrindavan. Rupa Goswami lost all desires to stay any longer, and Rupa Goswami entered into his room, never came out. And it is described that right one after Sanatana Goswami disappearance, Rupa Goswami also disappeared. Jiva Goswami established the samadhi of Rupa Goswami in the back of Radha Damodar temple. And on the departure of Sri Rupa Goswami, there were still Raghunath Das Goswami, Gopal Bhatta Goswami, who were senior by age to Jiva Goswami, but seeing the qualities, the natural qualities of being a leader in Jiva Goswami, they accepted Jiva Goswami as the Acharya for Vrindavan. Jiva Goswami, actually, he's a very active Vaishnava, Jiva Goswami. Many devotees have reciprocation from Jiva Goswami. Um, it's nice to hear him. It's nice to pray to him. It is described that appearance and disappearance day of Acharyas and Goswamis are very special days where we can attract lot of mercy. And somehow our discussion happened on this auspicious day. Jiva Goswami was universally accepted as the Gaudiya's foremost scholar. And so the Radha Damodar temple compound became a school where devotees went to learn philosophy and theology. So Gaudiya Vaishnava, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left, Rupa and Sanatana Goswami wrote the books, but the Siddhanta of Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy in a systematic order, that was kind of not existing. It was Jiva Goswami who established it. Like Jiva Goswami, Srila Prabhupada established ISKCON as an educational institute that could assimilate these ideas. In fact, I heard many of the practical examples Srila Prabhupada would give to explain Krishna conscious philosophy were taken from Jiva Goswami. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed Rupa and Sanatan to institutionalize the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. And they wrote books, and it was Jiva Goswami who, they wrote books and they left, and it was Jiva Goswami who became the center for all Gaudiya Vaishnavas. So anybody who is like basically all over India, if anybody wants to understand, anybody wants to preach, in order to preach, we need to present Krishna consciousness in a very systematic way. And the different spiritual masters would send their disciple to Vrindavan, to Radhamoda temple, which was like the hub of erudition, hub of education, Krishna conscious philosophy, and they would get trained there, and then they would go all over India and they would preach. So that was the position of Rupa Goswami. Um, so this Radhamoda temple was like the hub of uh, Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy education. Srila Prabhupada writes, to understand Lord Chaitanya, one has to follow the direct disciples of Lord Chaitanya, the six Goswamis, and especially the path choked out by Jiva Goswami, because it was him who institutionalized eventually. Vaishnavas from Odisha and Bengal flocked to Vrindavan, notably Narottam Das Thakur, Shyamananda Pandit, and Srinivas Acharya. Jiva Goswami took charge of them and trained them for the purpose of preaching the message of Lord Chaitanya. They became the emissaries of Goswami's teachings. So different great Vaishnavas like Srinivas Acharya. We can discuss maybe some other time individually about them. Srinivas Acharya's father was a classmate of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In fact, it is described Srinivas Acharya also saw Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he took sannyas. But when he wanted to meet Lord Chaitanya, he could not. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left, then Nitai left, and Nitai said, go and take shelter of Rupa Goswami. Then Srinivas Acharya came, and when he came to Mathura, he came to know that Rupa and Sanatana have also left the planet. And then when he came to Vrindavan, then Jiva Goswami gave him shelter. He trained him. Likewise, Narottam Das Thakur, we saw how love of Godhead was left for him in Padma, and he also came to understand in a systematic order the Krishna conscious philosophy under Jiva Goswami. And then likewise Shyamanand Pandit, after being trained, went to Orissa and preached. Narottam Das Thakur went to Bengal and preached. And Srinivasacharya has his own many stories, like very influential. So they all, practically all notable Vaishnavas would come to Radhamoda temple under the care of Jiva Goswami. He would train them because it was he who actually established through his books, and he would teach the teachings of the other Goswamis. Rup Sanatan, Raghunath Das Goswami, their books were unavailable to any Vaishnava. They were present only in Radhamoda temple. It was through the medium of Narottam Das Thakur, Srinivas Acharya, and Shyamananda Pandit that these books of Goswamis became widespread. Narottam Das Thakur, in fact, like nowadays, the situation has changed because of the benediction of technology, but even nobody would speak on, like, to hear Bhagavatam also is very difficult. So Jiva Goswami would train devotees. Narottam Das Thakur was very inspired by Lokanath Goswami, who had taken a vow not to accept disciples, something we discussed last week. The situation was a serious obstacle for Jiva Goswami, who could not send Narottam out to preach without being initiated. So Jiva Goswami was so um, far-sight thinker. Where will Narottam Das Thakur go? Where will Srinivasacharya go? And we know these names, but many disciples and devotees under him we don't know about. And he was constantly planning, like a central coordinator, how 10 devotees and send and preach. This was the mode accepted by our Srila Prabhupada. He would train devotees and he would tell devotees, you go to England, you go to um, Africa, and you all go to China, and you all go. So Srila Prabhupada would come and he would train them, and when he would see that they have sufficient faith, then he would disperse them out. Something that Jiva Goswami started by bringing everyone, training them, and sending for the message of preaching. So our Srila Prabhupada, we will see one or two places where, like Srila Prabhupada says, six Goswami, especially Jiva Goswami, under the guidance of Jiva Goswami, because he was the one who institutionalized. Um, and anybody face any problem throughout Vrindavan, Jiva, they would go to Jiva Goswami being the leader, and he would resolve everything required. So that is the glories of Jiva Goswami. One by one, all Goswamis left the mortal plane. To name a few, Rupa Goswami left, Sanatana Goswami left, Raghunath Das Goswami left, Raghunath Bhatt Goswami left. Jiva Goswami shouldered the responsibilities. In fact, Raghunath Das Goswami, when he left, he gave all his writings to under the care of Jiva Goswami. Sanatana Goswami, Rupa Goswami, everybody as they were leaving, they all kept the writings under Jiva Goswami, and Jiva Goswami was the main person who is holding the entire philosophy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then he handed three most trusted devotees to go and spread. But we know the story where those books were stolen and they were heartbroken. It's like impossible to even imagine. That's the only copies that was there. So once Raghunath Das Goswami, um, this is another instance how Jiva Goswami helped. Raghunath Das Goswami left the planet. Jiva Goswami established his samadhi at Shamakund. And then Raghunath Das Goswami appeared in a vision to Jiva Goswami and he told him, put my samadhi in um, Radhakund. So now this is a long story, but Jiva Goswami was very intelligent, and Jiva Goswami knew that the Akbar rule and how they were prosecuting and breaking the temples and all those things were happening. So samadhi can be made either by full body samadhi, where you place the body, or you burn the body, you take the ashes, and then you place the ashes in the ground. So Jiva Goswami took that decision for Raghunath Das Goswami. He didn't do full body samadhi of Raghunath Das Goswami because he knew the Akbars, if it is there, they will come and they will dig and they will misappropriate and they would commit many offenses. So Jiva Goswami had that, and then Raghunath Das Goswami appeared, and then Jiva Goswami again took a part of the ashes and submerged and make a samadhi in Radhakund. So if you go to Vrindavan, you will see two samadhis. And likewise, Gopal Bhatt Goswami also requested. So Jiva Goswami, like even these Goswamis, after they left, whatever desires they have, they would appear to Jiva Goswami and Jiva Goswami would execute. So he was like the person in Vraja who makes things happen, who is coordinating, sending everybody, preaching the cult of Krishna consciousness. The Acharya welcomed everyone. As Srila Prabhupada writes, Jiva Goswami was very kind to Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Whoever went to Vrindavan, he provided with a residence and prasad. So that much caring was Jiva Goswami. And we heard long time back in one of our program the story of Janava Mata and how when Janava Mata, she was the leader, and when she arrived in Vrindavan, she was received by Jiva Goswami. And any Vaishnavas who would arrive, Jiva Goswami would give them residence in Prasad. So that was his role. Jiva Goswami's spiritual stature, vast erudition, very learned. I mean, a well-reputed institution attracted scholars from all over India. All Gaudiya Vaishnavas would come to him. Radhamodar temple thus became the headquarters of Gaudiya Vaishnavas. In fact, he started Vishwa Rajya Sabha Samstha as the name of his school, Gaudiya Vaishnava Teaching School. Srila Prabhupada also wanted to make Radha Damodar temple as the center for his Krishna conscious educational school. But somehow Radha Damodar management did not allow. So right now Radha Damodar temple is mainly known for us, mainly known. There is Samadhi of Jiva Goswami, there is Samadhi of Rupa Goswami, there is that Govardhan Shila that was given to Sanatana Goswami by Krishna. That is also in Radha Damodar temple. And the room of Srila Prabhupada, that is there. Srila Prabhupada stayed first upstairs and then he stayed in the downstairs room. Upstairs room we don't have access because their own people stay there, but downstairs room is like dedicated to Srila Prabhupada. Even in fact, Srila Prabhupada said that I eternally stay in Radha Damodar temple. Prabhupada said that spiritually. Radha Damodar comes under Seva Kunj, one of the very intimate place of Radha Krishna pastimes. And Rupa Goswami also stays there eternally. In addition to his other responsibility, Jiva Goswami, like Srila Prabhupada, wrote many books. Like Srila Prabhupada was quite inspired by the role model of Jiva Goswami. Um, um, Indeed, his literary outcome is astounding, exceeding in verses the Purani composition of Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva, like there are 18,000 verses in Srimad Bhagavatam, but many other Puranas have, like Padma Puran has like more than 100,000 verses, which is like 6 times Srimad Bhagavatam. And many other Puranas are quite big if you combine all the Puranic verses that Vyasadeva wrote. More verses were written by Jiva Goswami. So we can understand that Jiva Goswami along he was so efficient in his spreading of Krishna consciousness, writing, establishing the philosophy, training the devotees, um, the the man who takes care of all over Vrindavan. So that was the capabilities of Jiva Goswami. Baldev Vidyabhushan. Baldev Vidyabhushan was asked to write um, um, commentary on Vedanta Sutras, because without that, our religion cannot be accepted as um, um, cannot be accepted as bona fide. One need to have a commentary on Bhagavad Gita and Baldev Vidyabhushan. Baldev Vidyabhushan took from Jiva Goswami's book and then write a commentary on Vedanta Sutras. So Baldev Vidyabhushan praises Jiva Goswami. By the mighty spade of his nectarian words, Jiva Goswami tossed aside the dirt of fallacious Sankhya arguments and recovered Krishna's splendor from the pit of Vivartavad. May he be our refuge. In simple words, it was he, Jiva Goswami, who established and protected Gaudiya Vaishnavas from all other contaminated philosophies and established the beauty of Krishna, Shyama Sundar, um, and protected us from Vivartavad and Shunyavad and many other. Originally, the whole protection philosophy, everything was established by Sri Jiva Goswami. This is another instance of how Jiva Goswami helped. Regarding Hari Bhakti Vilas, Hari Bhakti Vilas is one of the books started by Sanatana Goswami and later on further added by Gopal Bhatta Goswami. Regarding Hari Bhakti Vilas, now Jiva, he writes in his own book Sandarbhas, Chat Sandarbhas. There is Krishna Sambandha, there is Paramatma Sambandha, there are 6 Sandarbhas. They are actually detailed commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam and many other topics it describes. There is entire description of Krishna Leela, which Jiva Goswami describes with lot of details in his book called Gopal Champu. This is one of the book most of the devotees read in his. My spiritual master also many times quoted from Gopal Champu, another book by Jiva Goswami. Many such books Jiva Goswami wrote elaborately. Now Jiva, having noticed that while some portion of this text were in proper order, others were not. Still others were missing. Will write it out in the right order after proper deliberation. So whatever unfinished work by Goswamis, this was by Gopal Bhatta Goswami. If it is not in order, if something is missing, he would review it. Apart from writing his own books, he would edit Krupa Goswami's books and other books, and he would make a concrete, um, give a finishing touch, and then send out for printing, and likewise. So Jiva Goswami was actually the main person holding and giving us everything that we have today. Jiva Goswami lived in Vrindavan for 65 years. In 1596, he went back to Godhead to fully engage in the service of Shri Damodar as Vilas Manjari. He serves under Rupa Goswami in spiritual world, Rupa Manjari. His samadhi was placed as per his will alongside the samadhi of his spiritual master Rupa Goswami in Radha Damodar temple complex. So these were the glories of our Goswamis is unlimited. These were um, a few surface understanding so that we can understand, pray, and appreciate our Goswamis. And today was Jiva Goswami. All these 6 Goswamis, their glories are unlimited. Um, okay, now we are coming back to the uh, last section of today's, which is um, finishing the Adi Leela. So very nice. On this such an auspicious day, we are concluding this whole Adi Leela. Um, couple of incidents at Shivas Thakur's home, and then rest of probably 25-30 minutes will be on Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's taking sannyas. Actually, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas yesterday on the day of Sankranti, and very appropriate time for us to discuss on this particular pastime. Yesterday was 521st year, 521 years back, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on that day, yesterday, around noon time, accepted the order of sannyas. This is one particular instance where during the nightly kirtans of Mahaprabhu, Nitai and others, at one instance, Shivas Thakur's son passed away. And his wife and other ladies, they called out for Shivas Thakur. Shivas Thakur went inside. He was already deceased, going through some health issues, but very young. They called Shiva. Shivas came to know, and Shiva said, "Do not cry." And they were kind of about to wail. Shivas Thakur said, "Do not cry. Don't disturb the kirtan of Mahaprabhu Nityananda Prabhu. Everything is auspicious because Mahaprabhu is doing here. Everything is the arrangement of the Lord." Um, it is much easy to say, but when we go through it, then we can actually appreciate the faith of um, Shivas Thakur. Shivas Thakur told his own wife that if you wail, if you disturb Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's kirtan, then along with the face of your son, you will see my face in the same situation. So that was, he very strictly told his family members, stay quiet. And the kirtan continued for many hours. And then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and then Shivas Thakur came out and started participating in Sankirtan. Although he was grief stricken in his heart, he totally hid his emotions. Um, Naturally, pain will be there. He was very pained, but he didn't want. But he his faith on Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was immaculate. So in fight of pain, grief stricken situation, he was dancing. Sometimes he was crying, but it was feigned as ecstasy, but it was actually pain because he know his son passed away. And because he was feeling like that, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu started feeling some emptiness in his heart. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, I'm not feeling the same as I feel every day. Something is not right. And devotees came to know. One by one, devotees went inside, but somehow Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was completely lost in ecstasy. So devotees informed Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, my Lord, um, Shivas Thakur's son died. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was grief stricken and he had tears in his eyes, seeing the loving devotion of Shivas Thakur for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Mahaprabhu said, um, how much love Shivas you have for me. Without you, how can I live? So that was the kind of loving relationship between Shivas Thakur and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then Mahaprabhu said, immediately take me to your son. And Mahaprabhu took him to the sun, and then Mahaprabhu touched his son, a similar pastime like Narad Muni and Harsha Shoka. And Mahaprabhu touched the sun, and then the sun got up. So everybody, everybody tears went away. And then Mahaprabhu said, similar pastime as Harsha Shoka. Why did you left your father Shivas Thakur? And the dead son immediately replied, I was living in this house as long as I was destined to live here. Now that the time is over, I am going elsewhere according to your direction. I am your eternal servant, O Lord, a dependent living being. I must act according to your desire. Beyond your desire, I cannot do anything. I have no such power. In essence, you are guiding my chariot. Wherever I am going, you are taking me there. Everything is happening by your desire. And when Shivas Thakur's son spoke such words in front of Shivas Thakur and other ladies, um, um, they were pacified. So this is one incident that happened in Shivas Thakur's home. Another incident that happened is once a woman caught hold of lotus feet after his dancing. Mahaprabhu danced, and it was not like closed At that point of time, Mahaprabhu would perform some public sankirtans also. We see mango party, we see Chand Kazis. So these were public sankirtans, and many other instances Mahaprabhu did public sankirtans. So at one point of time, the woman came and put her head to the feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now Mahaprabhu was still a grahastha; he has not taken sannyas. So that was, and then he again and again. Naturally, what happens when one feels the divinity, then one becomes humbled. Divine potency makes us humble, and then one wants to receive blessings. But then naturally, after some time, when we are again in external consciousness, then that pride comes and humility goes away. So in this particular instance, this old woman, she repeatedly touched um, her head to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's lotus feet repeatedly. The Lord became unlimitedly unhappy. Immediately, the Lord ran and jumped into Ganga. So, something that Srila Prabhupada writes there, one who takes the dust of great personalities' lotus feet transfers his sinful activities to that great personality. Unless the person whose dust is taken is very strong, he must suffer the sinful activities of the person who takes the dust. Um, Therefore, ordinarily, it should not be allowed. So Prabhupada is very emphatic that don't touch the feet of, um, don't allow. First of all, two things. First, we should not touch anyone's feet, because when we are touching someone's feet, we are giving our karma to them. Like in our Vedic culture, I used to touch the feet of my mother before, very frequently, and any relatives, and now I stopped doing it, because then you understand, then you bow down. Or I, because there is a tradition, I touch their lotus feet when I meet them, but then I touch the foot near, I touch the ground near their foot, but I don't touch their feet. So when you touch somebody's feet, you give their karma. And if the other person is not spiritually very advanced to burn your karma, Shri Prabhupada writes that he will be inflicted with some disease, because disease comes because of sinful reactions. And by touching, we are transferring. So Prabhupada says, if you are thorough, now this is one thing we should not touch. Another thing is we should not allow anybody to touch our feet. Whether we take sannyas, vanaprastha, or doesn't matter what state we are in, we should try our best not to allow. In fact, I remember once, this is like 6 7 years back, Jayapataka Maharaj came to Detroit temple. Swamitra, his temple was not there naturally, so he gave a talk in Detroit temple. And after, now Jayapataka Maharaj is like, um, 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 he's paralyzed. His hands, legs doesn't move. He's paralyzed. So if, oh, so the common people, what they do, because he's paralyzed, he cannot stop. He's just like, so people will go and touch his feet. So one brahmachari, I saw him. He lied literally hiding the feet of Jayapataka Maharaj. Once after the class, once devotees were coming to greet Jayapataka Maharaj to receive his blessings, he lied to hide Maharaj's feet, so nobody can touch Maharaj's feet. The dust of the lotus feet of devotees have a lot of purifying potency. But what we can do is, instead of touching the feet directly, once the devotee goes, we can take the dust from the ground and then touch in our head. At another instance, the Prabhupada also says that initiated devotees, if someone is not initiated, one should not allow. Initiated devotees can touch the feet of spiritual master, and that is the mercy of spiritual master, if he so allows. Like Prabhupada allowed devotees to wash his feet also, but only initiated devotees. Um, because their sinful reactions are nullified the moment we accept a spiritual master. The spiritual master, because being a pure devotee of the Lord, takes away our karma and burns it. um, um, so one should be very, very careful with this instance. Okay, so but Mahaprabhu wanted to set his example. The moment the woman took the dust off Mahaprabhu's feet, he ran to Ganges and he took bath, because anybody who takes bath in Ganga, his sinful activities are destroyed. Now, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he came to teach bhakti by his own example. So, although Although this Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he did not allow, he was extremely unhappy when somebody touched his feet. Sometimes we touch the feet because of selfish reasons that I will make progress. But we go away from progress if the personality is displeased with us. The purpose is Yasya Prasadat Bhagavat Prasadu, to please spiritual master. Not to be like, okay, if I get this because I've heard. That's why in our tradition also sometimes people run, but we should not do it as much as possible. Okay. Now this is the last discussion for today, which is Lord Chaitanya accepting sannyas, and we will spend some 20, 25, 30 minutes just on discussing sannyas pastime. Once Lord Chaitanya, now this is the events that led to Lord taking sannyas. So once Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in a mood of separation, was contemplating on loving devotion of gopis of Vrindavan. Like he was in the mood of, like, there was an instance where once Krishna left, Radharani and gopis were very angry because Krishna said they will return. And in fact, when Uddhav came, Radharani chastised, and the gopis chastised Uddhav. Um, um, and Radharani chastised one bumblebee who was blackish in color, because of their this chastisement was out of great love for Krishna and great separation from Krishna. So Radha Bhava Dviti Suvalitam Naumi Krishna Swarupam. So Mahaprabhu is actually the mood of Radharani. So because at different instance, like Mahaprabhu and this Srivas Thakur and others, they were very intimately perform Sankirtan during the nightly kirtans. In fact, there is an instance where Shivas Thakur start describing the Ras Leela of Krishna, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in great eagerness said, go on, go on, go on, go on, go on. And they discussed on that particular passage throughout night, and Shivas Thakur in the morning said, my Lord, dawn has come. It's morning time. And Mahaprabhu was very satisfied with Shivas Thakur, and he embraced Shivas Thakur, and then he left. That I have not covered because it's too intimate. So the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, even before sannyas, was completely in the mood of Radha Bhav, which the purpose for which he personally came. So once he was in his home, and he was in a very angry mood, angry from Krishna, that why he left. Um, um, and when we come to 10th canto Bhagavatam, we can see that anger of these highest level of devotees of Braja. So, but a neophyte, a student, he criticized him. He was passing by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's home, and Mahaprabhu was chanting the names of gopis, but he could not understand. So he came and he chastised Mahaprabhu that what piety do you achieve by chanting the name of gopis? Instead of chanting the name of gopis, you chant the name of Krishna. And as soon as Mahaprabhu heard the name of Krishna, he became very angry because he was in that mood that Krishna left them. So he was very angry with Krishna, just like Radharani chastised Krishna. So Mahaprabhu went into the mood of chastising Krishna, and he started using words like, what does Krishna think of himself? Who is he? And then he he started chastising Krishna, that he has no heart, um, he doesn't understand what I'm going through, like these words, and the student was literally shocked. The student, what Mahaprabhu did, in order to Mahaprabhu, sometimes he would go his internal moods, like we saw last week, he went into the mood of Nrsingadev, Lord Shiva. So whenever he would hear, so different time, different mood, and different devotees of the Lord, understanding the heart of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, would describe those pastimes to enhance that mood of Lord Chaitanya. So the moment this student took the name of Krishna, Mahaprabhu became so angry. He took a stick and he started running behind in the market to hit the student. The student was a Brahmana, and the Brahmana became really angry at Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu because he was a neophyte. So Srila Prabhupada writes there, Vaishnavira Kriya Mudra Vigya Na Bhujaya. No one can understand the activities of a pure devotee. In fact, like Nityananda Prabhu is an avadut. means sometimes some of his activities are very difficult to understand. In fact, if I say, some of you will be disturbed, so I don't say. Very difficult to understand. One something I can say is sometimes he would go to pubs and bars also, and but he would go for the purpose of preaching. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told devotees, if you judge Nityananda Prabhu for whatever he is doing, your devotional life will be finished. So Mahaprabhu was very strict that the activities of pure devotees cannot be judged. We cannot understand pure devotees. So any Vaishnava does anything, Mahaprabhu said, even if Nityananda Prabhu performs the most abominable activity, if you judge him, your devotional life will be finished. So now, what to speak about judging Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself? Um, um, Suni Prabhu Krodha Kaile Krishna Dashotkara Thengalana Uthila Prabhu Paruya Mari Bara. Hearing the foolish student, the Lord became greatly angry. When he said, chant the name of Krishna, he became really angry, hearing the name of Krishna, and rebuked Lord Krishna in various ways. Started criticizing and chastising Krishna. Taking up a stick, he rose to strike the student, just like Radharani was very upset at Uddhav. They didn't take a stick because they were females, but Mahaprabhu took a stick and started running behind the student. Um, Prabhupada writes there, when Uddhav came to Lord Krishna with the message of gopis, all the gopis, especially Srimati Radharani, denounced Krishna in various ways, like became critical of Krishna. Um, you, you unchaste, you unchaste person who goes from flower to flower has no gratitude for what we have done. We have given everything to you, and you left us. So like that, Radharani chastised Krishna. Thus, he and party of students, 1000. So this somehow this child escaped. Now, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in a completely internal mood. Sometime when his internal mood, nobody can understand, and they would simply judge Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Um, so Mahaprabhu, in his own mood, he started running behind, and then he went somewhere else. Mahaprabhu left him, and this student escaped. So he went to his friends, and there were 1,000 friends, and he told, people say Chaitanya is a great devotee. What kind of devotee is he? Devotee means follow scriptures, worship Brahmanas, and he is trying to hit a Brahmana. Today the limit have reached. And then they all decided that we will meet this Chaitanya and we will strike him with our sticks. So it was a great offense. And they all started criticizing that how can he criticize a Brahmana? um, um, so they all were ready to strike the Lord in retaliation, that we will teach this Chaitanya a lesson. In those days also the caste Brahmins were very proud. This is a sign of pride. They were not prepared to accept chastisement even from a teacher or spiritual master. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was their teacher. He was a headmaster. He had his own school. Everybody knew Nimai as Nimai Pandit, the best of all the scholars. Everybody has great appreciation for Nimai, but then a small chastisement flared up their egos. So when a person is very puffed up, very proud, then you tell that person a small thing and that person will take a great offense. How dare you think of me? Because when we are so full of ourselves, um, we cannot accept any criticism. So Prabhupada says, even in those days, the caste Brahmanas were very proud. They were not prepared to accept chastisement even from a teacher or spiritual master. One time, one spiritual master in ISKCON, he said, what to do? My own disciples are not willing to take chastisement from me. So this is the situation in ISKCON also at, at many great, because of the effect of Kali Yuga. Due to their offense of criticizing Lord Chaitanya, their intelligence was spoiled. Hence, essence of their knowledge did not manifest. Whatever they heard, their Krishna consciousness, everything lost. Maya Paharita Jnana. And because of their offense, their intelligence was lost. And they could not discriminate between what is wrong and what is right. When we offend devotees, our intelligence goes away. And we simply create more offenses. or we act in a way that is very, very detrimental for our Krishna consciousness, because we cannot think this is detrimental to me. We just goes on a mental platform, and the knowledge and the essence of knowledge, everything is lost. Then it's just a matter of time. In fact, one who is committing offenses and then some more and then some more, is just a matter of time that one may still call himself a Vaishnav, but it's just a matter of time that he falls down. Very, very good example is Ramchandra Puri, who criticized his own spiritual master in a similar way. Just like he criticized, why are you chanting name of gopis? Ramchandra Puri criticized his spiritual master Madhvendra Puri. Why are you meditating on Krishna day and night crying for him? Why don't you worship the impersonal Brahman? Then you don't have to go through these emotions. And hearing this, Madhvendra Puri was very upset. And because he was upset, my spiritual master says, a pure devotee does not have to curse. He just has to, if he's just upset, our spiritual life goes through a lot of difficulties. And Ramchandra Puri, although practicing very sincerely, I mean, if somebody is accepted by Madhvendra Puri as his disciple, then he must have been very, very sincere. Otherwise, why would Madhvendra Puri give him initiation in the first place if he is offensive by nature? But because of his offenses, he lost his discriminative power. And then when he came to Puri, he even criticized Lord Chaitanya. Knowing him to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead in Puri, he would still criticize him. So this is something that happens that one cannot think. And then one offense simply leads to another and another and another. So his all his intelligence was lost. And the Brahmanas, just because they thought the thought that we will take a stick and we will now hit Lord Chaitanya, and they spoke. It's not just a thought. In Kali Yuga, mental offense does not count. But then, if we say a word comes out, um, somebody says that devotee is very nice, and we may not like it in our heart because of envious nature in our heart. But if we speak, immediately the offense is committed. Not even we don't even have to speak that Vaishnav. Krishna is watching. Verbal offenses are taken, physical offenses are taken, but mental offenses does not have a record. But mental offenses, if not rectified, very soon leads to mental offenses, if not rectified, very soon leads to verbal offense, where we may tell somebody that somehow I don't like that devotee because of this, and that becomes a prajalpa, that becomes an aparad. And Krishna consciousness is so sacred that little impurity Krishna consciousness cannot stand. And Krishna consciousness leaves us, at least for the time being, till we regain by the holy name. Some offenses like this can be counteracted by continuous chanting of the holy name. They keep, so we gain our strength, but then we again, if we're not careful with our words, we again lose. So this Brahmana, he was not careful with his word. And he told not to Lord Chaitanya, but he told to other students. Chaitanya, what does he think of himself? And he was doomed. And because others heard it and accepted it, they all were doomed. Everybody's spiritual life was finished. After this instance, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu decided to take sannyas so that people would not commit offense against him. Considering him an ordinary householder, for in India, even now a sannyasi is naturally offered respect. But we will see this in more detail, this particular instance. It's more explanatory. सर्वज्ञ गोसाई जानी सबरा दुर्गति घरे वासी चिंतता sabara avyahati. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, being omniscient, could understand the degradation of these students. Thus he sat in contemplation. Thus he sat at home contemplating how to rescue them. Now this is the divinity of a devotee. Mahaprabhu came to teach us how to practice devotion through his own example. This was the Lord's response upon being criticized. Usually, what happens when we are criticized, we find fault in the person who criticized us. In our conditioned state, we find fault in a person even if we don't criticize us. One action. If somebody doesn't talk to me, we criticize them. What to speak about if they do something wrong to us? So Mahaprabhu What was now? Um, what was even if we are criticized? What should be our response? What should we do? Instead of criticizing them back in our mind, usually what ego does when we are criticized is we try to prove that the other person is wrong. The criticism is wrong. Like if somebody says, I am lazy, suppose, then the ego will tell us that actually I'm not lazy. They just don't know, but I'm not lazy. The ego tries to retaliate. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, um, how he, um, when he was criticized, what was his response? He came back home and he started contemplating, how can I rescue them? What can I do so they are benefited? This is the nature of a devotee. A devotee does not think what harm others are doing to me. A devotee thinks, how can I protect them? This is the nature of mercy. এই সব মোরা নিন্দা অপরাধ হাইতে আমি না লাই লায়ো ইয়াইলা bhakti na pare laite. If I do not induce them to take to devotional service, if I do not induce them to take to devotional service because of committing the offense of blasphemy, none of these people will be able to take to it. I must certainly deliver all these fallen souls who blaspheme me. Again, I am reading. If I do not induce them to take to devotional service because of committing the offense of blasphemy, none of these people will be able to take to it. In other words, these people will not be able to take to devotional service because of their offense. Their offense, because they have offended me. Um, they will not be able to take up Krishna consciousness to practice devotional service. Devotional service, kind of that intelligence they will not get to practice devotional service. So Mahaprabhu again started contemplating, I must certainly deliver all these fallen souls who blaspheme me. So this is a mood of a devotee upon hearing criticism. How can I help? In fact, um, don't think whose fault is there. If somebody criticizes us, don't worry if they are wrong or they are right. You take the first step. My spiritual master says Krishna consciousness is beyond being right. If now ego is there, envy is there, anarthas are there, but Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught us that if you practice Trinadapi Sunichena, Trinadapi Sunichena means if you don't act on those emotions will disturb us. Mind will be disturbed. Yet we have a free will to act on them or not to act on them. If we act on them, it will be detrimental to our Krishna consciousness. Amake pranati kare haya papashaya tabesha ihare bhakti lawaila laya. If these rogues offer me obeisances, the reactions of their sinful activities will be nullified. In other words, um, then if I induce them, they will take to devotional service. So Mahaprabhu was contemplating, they have committed a great offense. I haven't taken offense. Even if a devotee does not take offense, Krishna takes offense. So Mahaprabhu, now they were offended. They committed an offense. Mahaprabhu has not taken the offense at all. In fact, he's thinking how to deliver them. But still, they were completely incriminated. Um, so even if one commits an offense and a devotee is still our well-wisher, the offense has occurred. So Mahaprabhu thought, if they offer me obeisances, like suppose if I offend a Vaishnav A, but then if I go and offer obeisances to Vaishnav A, then the Vaishnav A will be pleased. He will give up. Like if I have negativity towards somebody and if they come and bow down to me, then I will give up my negativity because I am very pleased by their humility. So likewise, Mahaprabhu thought if they somehow offer me obeisances, their offense will be nullified. This is one way we can nullify our offenses. Just go and bow down. Take a humble pose in front of the Vaishnava whom we offend. That's why when, especially when some Vaishnav visit us, before they leave, we bow down and we say, Prabhuji, if any offenses, please forgive me. So it's a natural. Or anybody comes to temple, any sannyasi comes to temple, we always say, Maharaj, if by mistake we offended you in any way, if you made any mistake, please forgive us. So it's a natural culture. So that any unknown offense will also incriminate us, but we kind of are careful not to implicate ourselves. So if they bow down to me, the reaction of their offense will go away. Then, if I induce them, they will take to devotional service. Somebody who has offensive mentality or who has offenses in their account cannot take to Krishna consciousness. First, they have to take a humble position and nullify their offenses. I have seen some examples. Sincere devotees. I know one Mataji, she would chant 16 rounds, very enthusiastic. She would preach, but in that place where she was living, she found fault and she picked up quarrels with some devotees there. But slowly, she lost her taste in Krishna consciousness and she stopped chanting. And it's been probably 10 years since, and now she has little negative attitude toward ISKCON also. But at some point of time, she was preaching Krishna consciousness because you preach when you experience divinity. But when we lost divinity, then we start finding faults, and then we start our own mind and intelligence, when it is contaminated, help us to find fault in pure philosophy also. So now he is like against dead against ISKCON. It is said that it takes a lot to come to Krishna consciousness, but our offenses can make us dead against the philosophy of Krishna consciousness also. And those people, um, I tried very much actually to explain her. But the thing is, she knows the philosophy. She knows everything about Krishna consciousness, and she has a reason to refute the entire philosophy. You cannot do anything. In fact, Krishna says, "Yesham tu antagatam papam jananam punya karmanam ke dvanda moha nirmukta bhajan ke ma dridamrata." Those who have sinful or offensive mentality, they are in dvandva, duality, and bhajate mam dridamrata. They cannot worship the Lord with determination. They cannot worship. But those whose offensive mentality has gone, they can worship the Lord. So Mahaprabhu was thinking, if they bow down to me, their offensive mentality will be nullified. Then, if I ask them to perform devotional service, they will very easily take it up. So that was the solution Mahaprabhu arose at. अतएव अवश्य आमी संन्यासा करीबा सन्यासी बुधाय मोरे pranata haiba. I shall accept the sannyas order of life, for thus people will offer me their obeisances, thinking of me as a member of the renounced order. These martas, these brahmanas, they were very proud, but as a culture, if you see a sannyasi, you bow down. So Mahaprabhu was thinking, I cannot tell them anything, but if I take sannyas, it will help them. One who does not offer respect, Prabhupada says something there, one who does not offer respect to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to his deity in a temple, or to a sannyasi, Tridandi sannyasi, must undergo prayaschit, atonement. If one does not offer obeisance to such a sannyasi, the prescribed prayaschit is fast for 1 day. So if we see a sannyasi, we should immediately pay obeisances. If time, place, circumstances does not allow, then pay after some time. Like if you go to airport and a spiritual master comes and you bow down. So sometimes spiritual master says, don't pay obeisances on the airport. Now you saw a sannyasi, but you have to pay obeisances. Time, place, circumstances. So you go when you go home or whenever you get time, you immediately pay obeisance to the sannyasi. But the idea is obeisances has to be paid once a day. I mean, if you see him 20 times, you offer him obeisances at least once in a day. You see him next day again, you offer him obeisances. But it is said to spiritual master we should offer obeisances every time we see him. So for this particular reason, and same to the deity of the Lord. If we see the deity of the Lord and we don't pay obeisances, then again fast for one day. Now I don't know how does it apply to us, but apply in a way. So many times we are come in and out, in and out, in and out. But at least the first time I see the deities, then there is obeisances, and then lot of activities gone goes in and out for different services. Then it's all right. At least once a day. প্রাণাতীতে হবে ইহার অপরাধশয়া নির্মলা হৃদয় bhakti karaibe udaya. Offering obeisances will relieve them of all the reactions to their offenses. Then, by my grace, devotional service will awaken in their pure hearts. Somehow or other, I have to make them offer me obeisances, all those who have committed offense against me. Their mind and their heart is still burning that we want to punish. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is full of compassion on the other side. Ei sabab pashan dire tabe haibe nishtar ara kona upay nahi ei yukti sar. All the unfaithful rogues of this world can be delivered by this process if somehow they offer obeisances to me. All the Pasandi, all the unfaithful rogues. So Mahaprabhu came to give Krishna to everyone. Some of them committed offenses, some of them are just atheistic by nature. So um, they have a lot of pap and sinful activities in their life. So Mahaprabhu said, all the atheists, I will deliver them. If they once offer me obeisances, I will free them from all their sinful activities, and then I will induce them to chant the holy name, and that way I can give love of Godhead to everyone. And Mahaprabhu said, Ar kona upaya nahi. There is no alternative. This is the essence of the argument. So these are the events that external events that lead to this pastime. Internal reason, Mahaprabhu wanted to taste Radha Bhav. And um, um, it is much easier to taste when one is in a conducive environment. To taste what Mahaprabhu came to taste was possible only in the situation in which he was at that point, later on in the Antya Leela. ए दृढ़ युक्ति करी प्रभु आछे घरे केशव भारती आइला नारिया नगरे. After coming to this firm conclusion, the Lord continued to stay at home. Mahaprabhu decided. In the meantime, Keshav Bharati came to the town of Nadia. So Keshav Bharati visited the hometown of Lord Chaitanya. He was a sannyasi. Prabhu Tandre Namaskari Kaila Nimantrana Diksha Karaiya Tandre Kaila Nivedana. The Lord offered him respectful obeisances and invited him to his house. After feeding him sumptuously, he submitted to him his petition. So Mahaprabhu invited Keshav Bharati to his home, and he um, revealed his mind to Keshav Bharati. Tumita Ishwara Bata Sakshad Narayana Kripa Kari Karamora Samsara Mochana. Sir, you are directly Narayan. Even spiritual master is considered as Sakshad Haritva. We say in he is as good as Narayan. We say in our Guru Ashtakam prayers, Sakshat Haritvena Samasta Shastra. When we say we use the word Sakshat Haritva, it's not Sakshat Hari. Sakshat Hari means he is Krishna himself. Sakshat Haritva means he has all the qualities. Twa, he has all the qualities of Krishna. That's how we glorify our spiritual master. But Prabhupada said, as worship him as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, please be merciful unto me, deliver me from this material bondage. This is humility of Lord Chaitanya. भारती कहे ना तुम्ही ईश्वर अंतर्यामी ये कर रहा से करीबा स्वतंत्र नहीं आमी. Keshav Bharati replied to the Lord, you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Super Soul. I must do whatever you cause me to do. I am not independent of you. How can I give you sannyas? Um, but as a servant, I will serve you in whichever way you want me to serve you. Now, some more detail from Chaitanya Bhagavan. to enhance the pastime of Mahaprabhu took sannyas. This is one of the very important pastime relished by the devotees. Um, Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami spoke only in very brief. Chaitanya Bhagavat Vrindavan Das Thakur spoke elaborately. So first Mahaprabhu, so let us see, very nice. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, um, the medicine Pipali Khanda was prepared to cure the excess phalgam, phalgam, but instead it increased the phalgam in the body. Um, what Mahaprabhu is implying is this medicine is used to cure the disease, but it has increased the disease. In other words, my appearance is to cure the material disease of the people. I have come here to deliver them. But instead, because they are criticizing me, it has increased their entanglement in material existence. They are further incriminated for longer stay. So the medicine which was to cure the disease has increased the phalgam in the body. So Mahaprabhu just spoke this line to all the devotees, and saying this, the Lord began laughing loudly, musing over something incomprehensible to all. When Mahaprabhu spoke this statement, Mahaprabhu started loudly laughing, and nobody could understand. The devotees became very concerned why Mahaprabhu is saying like this. And what does Mahaprabhu mean by that? But Nityananda, Lord Nityananda knew the inner meaning of the Lord's statement. He understood the heart of Lord and the Lord confidential mood. He thought soon the Lord will leave home and take sannyas. Nitai could understand that Mahaprabhu is telling because people are misrepresenting him, so they are further getting entangled, and Mahaprabhu will take sannyas to liberate them. So Nityananda Prabhu got this thought, although Mahaprabhu didn't share anyone yet. Lord Nityananda Prabhu fell into deep despair. This is Mahaprabhu with all the devotees, but Nitai became very silent. The life here seemed to leave his body at the thought of seeing his beloved Lord Chaitanya, beautiful as he is, shorn is like shape, no hairs, shorn of these lovely locks of hairs. Mahaprabhu hairs are, lot of glories are described about Mahaprabhu's hairs. And Nitai, when he thought Mahaprabhu may take sannyas, um, 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 the life air seemed to leave his body. He felt silent as if dead, and he started contemplating on the form of Lord in saffron without hairs, and he just could not comprehend that thought. Then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he suddenly clasped Lord Nityananda's hand, taking him away to a quiet and lonely spot. So Mahaprabhu took Nitai aside, and Mahaprabhu said, "Listen, listen, Nitai, I am revealing my heart to you. The purpose of my advent was to deliver the entire world. I have come to deliver. But instead of delivering the living entities, it seems I have to ultimately I have to ultimately destroy them." So Mahaprabhu revealed the real meaning of that line, which Nitai already understood. Therefore, I have decided to shave off my head and take to the renounced order of a sannyasi and go begging door to door. I will stand at the door of those who wanted to attack me with a begging bowl. So this is Mahaprabhu's mood. Whoever wanted, whoever criticized me, whoever blasphemed me, whoever want to beat me with a stick for their benefit, I will become a beggar, and go door to door begging. And I will stand at the door of those who wanted to attack me with a begging bowl. As a sannyasi, I will go with a begging bowl. Then these same aggressors will fall at my feet because by seeing me as a sannyasi, I will go just to beg. They'll fall at my feet. This is my plan, Nitai. Listen, I'll fall. They will fall at my feet, and in this way, I will deliver the whole universe. And I have come to go to every person's house with a begging bowl, and I will just stand and I will beg them. And when they will bow down to me, I will give them the vow. Tomorrow, when I take up begging as a sannyasi, I can go safe anywhere. I don't have any restriction. I can go to the whole world. In my grahast ashram, I cannot do that. I have many responsibilities. Tomorrow, I can take up begging as a sannyasi and I can go safe anywhere. I have fully decided to take up the sannyas order and leave my home and family. Mahaprabhu was recently married to Vishnu Priya. Um, no kids, but recently married. She was very young. Mother Sachi already lost one son who took sannyas, and she recently lost her father, her husband, and Jagannath Mishra. Please do not feel sad due to this. Rather, please give me permission to take up the renounced life. I need your permission, Nitya. And then Nityananda Prabhu told, Nityananda Prabhu could not speak. He just remained silent. And Nitai said, My Lord, I cannot stop you. You are supremely independent, Abhigya Swarat, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Whatever you have decided, I know I cannot make that decision. And then Nitai was thinking about Sachi Mata. Um, I will read this. When Nitai heard from his dear Lord that he was shaving his beautiful locks, his beautiful hairs, and entering the renounce order, Nityananda's heart shattered to pieces in grief. So he became um, like um, intense suffering in his heart. His heart shattered. He did not know what to say to Lord Chaitanya, but he was sure that the Lord will go ahead with his decision. The paralyzing thought of Lord Chaitanya will take sannyas echoed in grey emptiness in Lord Nityananda's mind. These are the words of Vrindavan Das Thakur. Um, so he was feeling very empty in his heart. Although he spoke, but he um, great emptiness. And paralyzing thought means you are said something and you are paralyzed. Paralyzed means you cannot walk, you cannot move any of your limbs. So paralyzing thought, um, and he felt great emptiness in his mind. He walked about normally, but within him raged a fitful storm. Devotees were there. After Mahaprabhu told him he would still go, and Sankirtan is going in, he would walk normally, but inside him there was a storm going on that Mahaprabhu will take sannyas, something unimaginable. And finally, Nitai said to the Lord, I don't have the authority to tell you anything, um, but please share with your devotees and take their opinions. Please share with devotees before you take that step. Um, And then Nitai thought, and then Nitai was thinking about Sachi Mata. One thing is but everybody loves Sachi Mata. One thing is he was heartbroken himself. He was walking with a storm in his mind, um, feeling emptiness in his heart, paralyzed, heart shattered. And he was thinking, how will she live through the long, lonely days and nights without him? For Sachi Mata, just seeing Nimai is her only happiness. Old woman, uh, um, no shelter. Now, naturally, a woman is under the shelter of a grown-up son. She'll become very lonely. Long, lonely days and nights without him. Each time these thoughts raced through his mind, he felt devastated with despair, and finding a secluded corner, wept bitterly because he could not bear to think what will happen to Sachi Mata. His mind was like a storm, although he was acting. And whenever he would go to a secluded place, he would cry and cry and cry. And then when he would come back and he was thinking that what will happen to all the devotees of the Lord? Mahaprabhu will take sannyas and we don't know where he will go. What will happen? What will happen to Sachi Mata? And their life and soul and their all happiness was coming throughout night kirtan, so many pastimes. Like we saw one of the pastime of um, Nitai and Mahaprabhu and Vyas Puja, and Shivas Thakur told him offer the garland to Vyasa, and Nitai didn't listen. And then Mahaprabhu came. Mahaprabhu said offer the garland to Vyasa, and Nitai offered to Mahaprabhu, and Mahaprabhu lifted him up So there are unlimited loving exchanges. Himself being devastated and heartbroken, he is thinking about what will Sachimata do without Nimai if he takes sannyas. And then he told, finally Nitai convinced Mahaprabhu to share with your devotees before you and take their opinion. So Mahaprabhu went to Mukunda, and the Lord said, Mukunda, please listen to me. Um, Mukunda is another eternal associate of the Lord. The Lord said, Mukunda, please listen to me. I have decided to leave my family and home to join the sannyas order. Shaving my hair, I shall travel all over. The Lord's word crushed Mukunda's joy he had felt earlier on seeing the Lord. So Mahaprabhu went to the house of Mukunda, and Mukunda was very pleased by seeing Lord. And Mukunda was used to sing very sweet songs in ecstasy. So Mahaprabhu said, glorify Krishna. And Mukunda started doing a kirtan. And Mahaprabhu went into ecstasy, Mukunda went into ecstasy. And then they both came out after some time. And then Mahaprabhu said, Mukunda, please listen. I have to go. I have to go forever. From your association, I'll become a beggar. Um, I will leave my family and home and I will travel all over. And Mukunda, whatever ecstasy he attained by Sankirtan with Lord, the Lord would crushed his ecstasy into pieces. And then, not going in detail, but just some of the emotions that went through, because the words, when we hear about this, it gives us a deeper understanding of what it means that Mahaprabhu took sannyas. Then Mahaprabhu went to Gadadhar. Now, Gadadhar is a childhood friend of Lord, and Gadadhar and Mahaprabhu are very, very fast friends because Radharani and Krishna. And Mahaprabhu told Gadadhar, it was Gadadhar who would stop Lord. We discussed Lord will, Mahaprabhu would, where is Krishna? And he would break his heart. And Gadadhar said, Krishna is coming, Krishna is coming. And then Gadadhar will be like, Mahaprabhu will be like, oh, where is Krishna? He's coming, he's on the way. And Satimata thought nobody could control Nimai's emotions other than Gadadhar. He's the only one. And he went to Gadadhar and he said, I have to leave my family and home for the sake of Lord Krishna. Gadadhar could not take it. Gadadhar also took sannyas and he went to Puri. So Gadadhar is like unseparable from the Lord. But naturally, at this point of time, it's like impossible. I have to leave my family and home for the sake of my Lord Krishna. I shall shave my head as a mendicant and go wherever the roads leads. I will just keep walking. I'll be a beggar with a begging bowl and I'll beg everyone. And I will ask them to chant the holy name and I will beg. And I will ask them chant the holy name and I will beg. And because I am sannyasi, as they pay obeisances, they will be completely purified from all sins. Then I will ask them and I will give them pure love of Godhead and I will do it throughout. Everywhere I will do that. Gadadhar Pandit remained motionless, thunderstruck. Um, um, the response of Gadadhar Pandit was denial, like he could not believe what he is hearing. Feeling a burning grief swallowing him within, he replied, your words are very strange, my lord. So this is a kind of denial feeling. What are you talking? Just can't believe that Mahaprabhu. Thunderstruck motion. Your words, you seems very strange today. And later on, he also took sannyas. And there is instance we will see in Madhya Leela when Mahaprabhu was going to South India, to Vrindavan. Gadadhar followed. Gadadhar said, I will not leave you for a moment. And then Mahaprabhu said, you have taken Cheta sannyas. Gadadhar took Cheta sannyas. I will not leave Puri. His worshipable deity was Tota Gopinath in Jagannath Puri. You can go and worship them. Very, very good. It is in Tota Gopinath that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ended his earthly pastime. He merged in the deity of Tota Gopinath. So Radha Pandit although sannyas, but a Kshetra sannyas means I will remain in one Kshetra, one place. And then Mahaprabhu and Gadadhar Pandit fell down, begged, cried for Lord to take. Mahaprabhu told Gadadhar, "You have taken Chaitra Sannyas." Gadadhar said, "Let Chaitra Sannyas go to hell. Wherever you are, Tota Gopinath is there. I will just travel with you." Mahaprabhu said, "No, you're not such a good example. I don't care about example." So this is the loving mood between Gadadhar and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Gadadhar is like, "What are you talking? Your words are very strange to me." Like this, the Lord visited all his devotees, near ones, and told everyone of his plan to take sannyas. Um, the devotees were wailing in grief, tossed about in the ocean of despair. Everyone, lot of negative emotions, like heartbroken. Um, um, and when they would meet, they would wail. Whole night Kirtan, Shiva, Advaita, Nitai, uh, Haridas. There are so many. Kolavija Sridhar, Murari Gupta, Mukunda, Gadadhar, and there are so many. And anytime they would attend Kirtan with Lord, just few days, Mahaprabhu will take sannyas. They would just wail because they know it's going to end. And we don't know if we will ever see Mahaprabhu also. Uh, now, Sachi Mata also came to know. The word spread swiftly everywhere that Nimai was going to embrace the mendicant life, will become a beggar. When Sachi Mata heard this news, her heart stopped, almost stopped. Somehow she was living, but her heart almost stopped. It was like uh, already long time back, Jagannath Mishra got a dream where Nimai, we saw that when he was just a small child, where Nimai came in sannyas robes and Jagannath Mishra stopped schooling of Nimai and he told Sachi Mata and Nimai is not allowed to go meet anybody, go to school because if he is educated, if he goes and meet the devotees, then only the possibility will come of him taking sannyas. So they curbed him. You stay here, just like Buddha incarnation. They didn't allow him to go because then he may just leave forever. That's what Buddha did. But later on, somebody told Jagannath Mishra and Brahmana that whatever is written, whatever is destined to your boy Nimai, that's what's going to happen. By stopping him from education, you are playing with his career. Like those words and Jagannath Mishra again allowed Nimai Pandit. But when Sachimata heard, but his behavior was not at all like that. He said, I will not take sannyas. He married, he came back, he married again. So Sachimata was very comfortable, but as soon as she heard this news that Nimai is thinking of taking sannyas, her heart almost stopped. Her grief was so intense that the pain of the entire universe seemed like nothing. She fell to the ground unconscious, tears flowing in torrents, and remained lying on the floor. She could not move. She was just crying. In fact, it is said that she became paralyzed. I mean, she could walk. Paralyzed means dumbfounded, stuck. A heart-rending sight, a heart-rending sight, heart-moving sight. Anybody who sees that, and Nitai could imagine it, and that his mind was full of storms. What is going to happen? The lotus-eyed Lord saw all this sitting very still and grave, and Mahaprabhu is there. Mahaprabhu is hearing. She heard. Mahaprabhu didn't directly say, and Mahaprabhu was very grave. He was determined. I am going to take sannyas. Then the Lord pacified Sachimata. Sachimata cried out to Nimai, saying, my darling son, please do not leave your mother and go. All of us are simply depending on seeing your divine lotus face. I live because I see you every day. Then you go out, even though you are doing whole night Sankirtan and you come in the morning. That's my life. Your constant follower Advaita Srivas and your bosom friend Nitai and Gadadhar are always there. They, just stay home and perform your congregational chanting. You, your Krishna consciousness, I mean, in a way, you chant the holy names, no problem. But stay home and perform your congregational chanting. Silently, Vishwambar sat and listened. Vishwambar is Mahaprabhu, sat and listened. bearing the deep pain within as his mother out of intense love spoke pitiful words of separation. There is many things Sachimata spoke, trying to convince Nimai, but for the sake of time and space, only one paragraph is here. Sachi Devi, speaking, felt drained out, rampaged by the storm of grief. Food and sleep were now a curse to her. It is said even the night Mahaprabhu left, um, Sachimata was there. Tears were flowing from her eyes. She was sitting. Nimai circumambulated her 3 times and left and never looked back. Um, Sachimata knew that I cannot stop Nimai. He is the Supreme Lord. He has now everybody knows the position of Nimai. Um, but in this particular instance, when Sachimata drained out food and sleep were a curse to her, the Lord spoke, "You have always been my mother in every incarnation. You, as Prishni Garbha, when I took birth as Prishni Garbha, you came as Prishni. When I came as Ram, you became Kaushalya. When I came as Krishna, you became Yashoda. So you always have been my mother in every incarnation. But in this incarnation, I will be your son twice. Whenever Lord comes, devotees have to go through this suffering. When Lord Ram came, he, in a very early age, he left Dasharath and Kaushalya. When Lord came as Krishna, at the age of 11, he left Yashoda and Nanda. And when he came as Nimai, at the age of 24, he left Sachimata. So this is Lord is showing by his own example. He has come for a purpose, the purpose of serving. And what to speak about the incarnation of Nimai, where he is coming with a begging bowl. Um, I will um, every incarnation, Mother, I was there. Even Devahuti and Kapila Muni, he gave instruction. Kapila Muni left. Um, so you have always been my mother in every incarnation. In this present incarnation, I will be your son twice. You will be the mother of my incarnation as the deity form, and also the mother of my incarnation as the holy name. Actually, Mahaprabhu gave his own deity to his mother and his wife, Vishnupriya. Um, um, that deity of Mahaprabhu is still worshipped in Koladweep. Um, um, so you, in this incarnation, mother, you will worship me in my deity form and in my holy name. Whenever you chant, I am there, and whenever you offer me anything, I will personally come or I will personally eat in the form of a deity. In other words, not me personally. Mother, like this, you have had me as your son eternally. I can never leave you, mother, but I will be there with you in my deity form as the holy name. Um, and Mother Sachi is coming to the point of acceptance, although with great heartbroken. Um, Finally, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu prepared for taking sannyas. He already spoke to Keshav Bharati when he came to Navadvip, invited him to his home. Mother Sachi doesn't know what is the conversation between Nimai and Keshav Bharati. They were just sitting in the courtyard, and Mahaprabhu is telling him, I want to take sannyas. Vishnu Priya is cooking, Mother Sachi is there, they were serving, but they don't know what is the conversation. That the night, not the day came. It was just everything happened in just 2 3 days. Um, Actually, he told Nitai that you come and support me. He told Mukunda that you come, and he told his maternal uncle because some elder should be there who will perform the ceremony, like um, as a witness, who will perform the Vedic rituals along with the sannyasi. So one of the devotee was brother of Sachi Mata, who was Chandrasekhar Acharya, maternal uncle of Lord. So these three were the witness. You require at least three witnesses to take sannyas. So the night, the night of his sannyas initiation, Lord Chaitanya remained at Katwa. Actually, night only he left, and whole night he remained in Katwa. And already they discussed with Keshav Bharati, he discussed on this particular day, on the day of Sankranti, which we celebrated yesterday. On a day of Sankranti, I will accept sannyas from you. After initial ceremony, the Lord instructed Mukunda to sit. Actually, it is described before you take sannyas, you have to cut your hairs. And it was a day of Sankranti. So this initiation happened at the on the bank of Ganges. So it was a day of Sankranti. All the people come to take bath in Ganges. Um, so thousands of people were taking bath in Ganges. Everybody has heard about it, and everybody came to know there that today Nimai in Katwa is taking sannyas, and it is described in great detail how they became very angry at Keshav Bharati, and they said to Keshav Bharati, "If you give Nimai sannyas, then we will take away your ashram also." So that kind of revolt by thousands of people who were there on that day of Sankranti, they just came casually to take bath because it's Sankranti, and they all were witnessing. Uh, a barber was called, barber, and to shave Mahaprabhu's head. And the barber, Mahaprabhu asked barber that cut off my hairs. But it is described the beauty of Lord Chaitanya hairs was such beauty that the barber and seeing the whole environment was intense. Everybody was like, if you give Nimai sannyas, you will lose your ashram to Kesha Bharati. Nitai, Mukunda, and Chandrasekhar were weeping, and the whole intense situation. And Barber, when he touched like silky hairs of Nimai, he could not get the strength to cut the hairs of Nimai. And Nimai said, "Cut my hairs." And everybody is weeping. So it is described they have intense attachment to Lord's hairs. So uh, he was not willing to cut. Then the Lord told Mukunda, perform the kirtan. And Mukunda started doing the kirtan. And the Lord stood up and began to dance vigorously. The Lord was in a very intense mood on that day, on the day when he was taking sannyas. Mukunda was doing kirtan, everybody was weeping, but Lord danced like never before. Whole night kirtans were there, but this day was something else, never existed in the history of Nimai. And he danced vigorously. The devotees encircled him slowly, slowly. The spiritual energy and the ecstasy increased from suffering, pain. Everybody went into that internal mood. The devotees encircled him and joined in a chorus. So they were rotating around, and Mahaprabhu was vigorously dancing. As he danced, the Lord experienced heavy breathing, like a sign of ecstasy, laughter, perspiration, sweat, shivering. Horripilation is like hair stood on end like needles, and roaring, loud roar, and it was intense. The Lord became enraptured and maddened with love of himself, love for himself, love for Krishna. He is Krishna, so love for himself. Dancing and swirling, he was dancing like madman, vigorously. He went to his guru and embraced him with glowing pleasure. In the Lord's merciful embrace, Keshav Bharati was enlightened with love of Godhead. So first Keshav Bharati received love of God. He was naturally a Shankara follower. So Mahaprabhu in his divine ecstasy, the diviniest, most divine ecstasy, vigorously chanting, swirling, he embraced Keshav Bharati, and Keshav Bharati was enlightened with love of God. Keshav Bharati became oblivious to the external world. Keshav Bharati, welcome to the camp of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And intoxicated with divine love, he rolled on the ground, unaware that his clothes no longer covered his body. He became naked. I mean, he was rolling, ecstasy, internal mood. He doesn't realize that his clothes are not covering his body also. He became so divine. The Lord was pleased to see Keshav Bharati in such ecstasy. And so naturally, uh, the Lord will take sannyas from his own devotee, and then in that divine ecstasy, when everybody, Lord sat down and Lord told the barber, "Shave me off." Everybody was lost in the internal meditation. The whole mob was also lost because Mahaprabhu create that kind of divinity. Otherwise, it's just not possible. It was just not possible to shave for Keshav Bharati to perform the ceremony and give sannyas. But in the divine, when everybody was lost, Mahaprabhu strongly said to the barber, "Shave me off." And immediately he shaved off. And then again, Kirtan broke and devotees fell down in grief. But now it's too late. And then the ceremony was performed. Chandrasekhar performed on behalf his maternal uncle elder on behalf of Nimai, and then Keshav Bharati gave him the name. From today, your name will be Shri Krishna Chaitanya. Shri Krishna Chaitanya. Shri Krishna Chaitanya. This has never happened before in Shankara Sampradaya, a name like that. They get a name of, like Bharati Sampradaya gets the name of Bharati, Keshav Bharati. Bhattacharya Sampradaya gave the name of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and many others. Then there is Prakashananda Saraswati Sampradaya gets the name of Saraswati. So their names are defined by Bharati. You are Bharati class, you are Bhattacharya class, you are Saraswati class. Bhattacharya Saraswati class are much higher than Bharati class. So there are 10 ways in which the name in Shankaracharya are given to sannyasis. But this is the first time in the history that a name in Shankaracharya was given, and the name was Shri Krishna Chaitanya. Shri Krishna Chaitanya. Shri Krishna Chaitanya. And finally, we have come, and the barber said, after shaving your head, I cannot shave anyone's head anymore. Um, Um, and there is a Kesh Samadhi. If you go to Katwa, there is a Samadhi of Lord's hairs. We discussed last time any paraphernalia of the Lord, of any of, of even a devotee, can act as a Samadhi. So Lord Chaitanya does not have a Samadhi because he entered into the deity of Tota Gopinath. But the only Samadhi that is there is the Kesh Samadhi of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The hairs were dug and a samadhi was formed. And Keshav Bharati also wanted to travel with the Lord, and the Lord said, "No, I have to. I have my journey is alone from here." The barber, he gave up his profession as a barber, and he became a sweet maker. He would sell sweets. And his last will of the barber, I want my samadhi next to Kesh Samadhi of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So if you go, there is a samadhi of the barber. And that was the last wish of Keshav Bharati. Keshav Bharati remained in Katwa in divine love of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, already achieved pure love of Godhead to Lord Sri Krishna. And his last will also to have my Samadhi next to Kesh Samadhi of Lord. So if you go to Katwa, there is Samadhi of Keshav Bharati, Sannyas Guru, there is Samadhi of Lord's hair, and there is Samadhi of the barber. And later on, many devotees took Samadhi there. So there are a few other Samadhis also of great devotees of Mahaprabhu. So this all happened in Katwa. Uh, एता बली भारती गोसाई काटोयाती गेला Mahaprabhu taha yai sannyasa karila. After saying this, Keshav Bharati, the spiritual master, went back to his village, Katwa. Um, um, this is now whatever we discussed is from Chaitanya Bhagavat. So this is a continuation where Mahaprabhu met Keshav Bharati and he said, I will come tomorrow, sannyas. Keshav Bharati accepted. So after saying this, Keshav Bharati, the spiritual master, went back to his village Katwa. Lord Chaitanya went there and accepted the renounced order of life. Because already described by Vrindavan Das Thakur in great detail, you can read Antya Leela because Chaitanya Bhagavat kind of very last portion, last few chapters, describe this. And then 2-3 chapters he described after post sannyas, and that's where Chaitanya Bhagavat end. So in Antya Leela, this pastime comes. So Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami very shortly describe A Adi Leela Arkaila Sutra Ganana Vistari Vanila Iha Dasa Vrindavana. Thus I have summarized the incidents of the Adi Leela. Thus we officially come to the end of Adi Leela. Shri Vrindavan Das Thakur had described them elaborately in his Chaitanya Bhagavat. Shri Rupa Raghunath Padayara as Chaitanya Charitamrita Kahi Krishna Das, praying at the lotus feet of Shri Rupa and Shri Raghunath, always desiring their mercy. I Krishna's narrate Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita, following in their footsteps. And next week we will discuss now Madhya Leela. We will discuss some more. Madhya Leela descriptions are in great detail, but Adi Leela is Sutra Gana in a very short form. Okay, that's all we have. Are there any questions?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji Dandavat
Isha Mata,
So if we do any offenses in Manasik, there won't be any aparaj, you said Prabhuji. What happens like if you do anything in um, devotional services? Prabhuji?
they are called Seva Aparadh, like service to deities and those kind of offenses. They are much easier to um, counteract just by chanting the holy names. The Seva Aparadh are forgiven. Krishna does not take offenses to him very seriously. But when we have Vaishnav Ninda in our heart, before it becomes verbal, um, we should pray to the Lord to help me overcome this phase. And the Lord is very, very merciful. And He will make such arrangements that everything will be neutralized. And that's why there is only one option, there is only one hope, there is only one way, where Krishna says, if you depend upon me in every situation, you will be able to cross over all the obstacles in your life. In Bhagavad Gita 18 chapter. That is our only hope. Whatever be the situation, why not help me? If you depend on Krishna, Krishna will make such arrangement that some interaction will happen, something will happen, and everything will be resolved. Krishna will make that arrangement. Pray, my Lord, I'm foolish. I don't know what is right, what is wrong. Many times we go through difficulty in our chanting and we don't even know where the difficulty is coming from. But consciously, be conscious, consciously pray to Krishna, my Lord. Some mistakes are happening or happened and I don't know. Please help me. Then Krishna will give the intelligence. Then keep praying, my Lord, please make arrangement so I can rectify. Please create a situation for me so I can rectify. Please help me. I am depending on you. Then Krishna will make that arrangement. As you approach Krishna, Krishna reciprocates. So a sincere devotee always takes shelter of Krishna. Help me, help me, help me. And by the mercy of Guru and Krishna, when we are praying to Krishna, help me, Guru is included. Guru is in our heart. Guru and Krishna are non-different, in a way non-separable. So when we are praying, the help will come, and that's how we can overcross the obstacles. Is that all right? So,
Yes, Prabhuji.
okay.
What happens, Prabhuji, in case if we perform devotional services? Um, like if we think inside like worshipping.
So what is the question?
If we offense inside like for mentally, there won't be any offense. So suppose if you are worshipping mentally, like how that works.
Yeah, there is great benefit. Actually, it is described in Kali Yoga. Any um, mental devotional service has great benefit, but any mental offenses has no reaction. You can even mentally give cows to the brahmanas and you will get the benefit of actually giving cows to the brahmanas. I mean the Krishna consciously. So there is benefit of devotional service in the mind, lot of benefits.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
All right, so we'll end here. If I spoke anything wrong, please forgive me. Vanchakalpatarubhesha kripasindhube evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. I'm very grateful to all of your association from the core of my heart. Thank you. Hare Krishna.